Okay, so we are recording now. So this is going to be a quick demo of how the queue works for hosts to be able to use for tournaments. So we're going to go ahead and use, today we're just going to do an example of a pool play tournament, and then double Elam pretty much works the same way. There's just a few logic differences there. So we'll go ahead and use this GG's annual tournament for example. So first, when you arrive on the tournament, as part of the dropdown, there will be a host view option. You can click here. And then here you're gonna have three tabs: the live, the queue, and the completed. So we can start by clicking on the queue. This is where you're gonna pretty much see the entire queue. So I already have courts configured, but how the process would work is I would first configure courts, and then basically the court status would pop up here. And then we can go ahead and actually generate the queue from here. And just to keep in mind, if there are no matches in each of the divisions, you will not be able to generate that specific division. So in this case, we have matches for both of the divisions because we can go back here. We can see there are pool play matches here. Okay, so let's generate the queue for both of these divisions, and it generates the queue. So how this is gonna work is, and I'm gonna change this icon. I was just like playing around with it, so right now we see 4 matches in the queue, but 2 that are only available to call, and that's because there are only 2 available courts, right? And so for pool play, how this is gonna work is basically it's only gonna take matches that are available in terms of when both teams are ready to play, and it's going to go in a round by round basis. So what that means is that the maximum number of matches that can actually be in the queue is just going to be the total number of like matches per round across both divisions, if that makes sense. So what I mean by that is if I go into 3.0 to 3.5 and I see, okay, there's 2 matches here because there's only 4 teams. Then if I go into the 3.5 to 4.0, there's only 2 matches here as well, 4 teams. So therefore, 4 matches will be the maximum amount that there's going to be in the queue at a time. So if we want to put a match on court, what we can do is click this call button. And what this call button is going to take you to is now you have to select a court. So we'll select court 1, assign the court, and from there on, we can see, okay, the court 1 is now being occupied and it's in the live tab right now. And this is where also a host can kind of go in and put in the scores here. I've changed this specific dialogue to match how it is done in the actual pool play card itself. And so from here, we have a few things we can do. So one is if you're a host, you can put in the scores. For example, let's just put in 1-0. We'll submit this, and it goes away from the live tab, and it goes into the completed tab. So the completed tab is a place for, you can find all the matches that are completed there, and just a good way to cross-check that you've hit all of the matches based on this total. The queue now, as we can see, only has 3 matches, and it does pop off the queue when you make it live. So we do have 3 matches here, but what's pretty cool to see is that, okay, let's say we have one more 3.0 to 3.5 match, right? So let's go ahead and just like call this match. But let's say I want to move this to being number 1 in the queue. So I'll be like, okay, I can tap on the card and I can enter a brand new queue position. So let's say, okay, I want to make this position 1. So in theory, this match should be here while, these 2 should just swap basically, right? So if I do that, and we'll see like Lisa and Robert, so these 2 should swap. And that's what happened. So you can kind of play around with that with like if you're a host and let's say like, someone needs more time, you can kind of move them down in the queue, move them up, things like that. And then, if I want to call, this match again, for example, so court 1, and we'll put this match on court 2 as well. So right now we see that all courts are in use. That's why the last card in here is not highlighted because we cannot call this match. So now, a pretty cool feature as well is that you can actually re-queue a match. So what this means is that it will add it back into the queue, and it will add it to the back of the queue. Now, the point of this is to be like, okay, like let's say, a host accidentally puts a match live, or let's say someone gets hurt and they need more time. We can just put them to the back of the queue, and we can call that match later on if needed. And this can be restyled. This is just pretty basic so far, just for the functionality purposes. But yeah, let's go ahead and requeue this match. So this is Dinniker and Lisa versus Kush and Mike. So we'll just requeue it. So we see that it is off of the live tab now, and it is the last match in the queue. And we also noticed that because we re-added the match into the queue, that court now becomes available, and so we can go ahead and put this match on court now as well. So now, keep in mind that we did complete one match for 3035. So you're probably wondering, okay, how are new matches actually being populated into the queue? So now we can go back and into the queue, into the live tab, and we can we can go ahead and submit scores for these two matches here. So these are both 3-5 to 4-0 matches. We go back in the queue, and now we see 3 more matches. And this is good because we know that because we've finished an entire round for the 3-5 to 4-0, then we know that, okay, we're ready to display the matches of the next round. And this doesn't have to be both matches have to be done. It's just whenever both teams are basically ready and not in current matches for their next round, right? So yeah, and then you can kind of play around with this. That's pretty much all the functionality that you can do. One other cool thing is that let's say a host doesn't want to put in the match scores, then let's say a player is putting in the scores for a GG's Play tournament or for a regular tournament as well. We can kind of go in here and put in the scores for this match as well. So if I am Dinniker and Lisa and I want to put in a score here, what it should do is it should remove this match from the queue, even though we're not calling it in here, right? So we can kind of go ahead and do that. Let's do this. Let's make this live, and we'll be okay, I don't want to submit it in here. Let's say Dinniker and Lisa are going to submit the scores. They won 1-0. And we go back into the host view, and we see that match is no longer there. And as expected, because we've finished the first round of the 3-0 to 3-5, the next matches are now populated into the queue. So that's pretty much the entire functionality of the queue.